Hey George, how was work today? The waiting room was full pretty much the entire day. I was on my feet for nearly 13 straight hours. I think today might have been literally the busiest day I've ever had at the hospital.
Hey, sorry to hear that things were crazy for you. They were just as bad for me. With all the ice on the roads, we've had a lot of car crash victims coming into the ER. Luckily, it wasn't anything too serious. Just some broken bones and 1 or 2 concussions.
That does sound a bit serious, though.
I mean, compared to what it could have been, I've unfortunately seen my fair share of fatal accidents. I'm just thankful the weather wasn't bad enough for the ambulances to not get here in time. In the past, we've had 1 or 2 cases where the patient unfortunately didn't make it because the ambulance got stuck in the snow.
Wow, that's horrible.
I know. This city really needs to get their act together with clearing out the roads when the weather is bad like this. Anyway, how are you doing otherwise? Are you excited for this weekend?
I'm not sure if excited is the best word for how I feel. I feel nervous and stressed is more like it.
You'll be fine. My mom is really old school, but it's not like she's a bad person. Just be yourself and you'll be fine.
I'm usually not this nervous. It's just the fact that she doesn't know anything about me really, right? You mentioned she didn't even want to know?
It's nothing personal. She's always been this way ever since I was young. She's told me over and over that she has no interest in meeting the woman I'm dating unless I intend on marrying them. She said she didn't even want to know anything about them either. She wants to have a pure first impression of you, which means I didn't tell her anything about you.
Not even that I'm a nurse?
Literally nothing. I mean, I told her your name and that we're planning on getting married. That's all she wanted to know. You should feel lucky, though. You're the first girl I'll ever be introducing her to.
I'm not sure that makes me feel any better about the situation. I just don't get a good vibe out of someone who refuses to learn anything about someone before meeting them. Think about it. What if I say something to her that she's just totally not on board with? It would be so awkward to sit there and pretend like everything is okay after that.
That could happen even if I tell her about you beforehand, though. Like I said, she wants to get a legit total first impression of you when she meets you. What's not to like, though? You're smart, funny, and you have a great job. Plus, you're good enough for me to want to marry you, so I don't think that she's gonna say anything crazy.
Still, though, I'm getting anxious thinking about it. Do you think I should bring anything as a gift? You know, like to smooth things over? Does she like anything in particular?
Nah, I think you're good. Since we're going to a restaurant, it's better just to show up with nothing. If we were going to her house, then yeah, maybe, but I think you'll be fine.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. You know, that reminds me, I think it's about time you met my parents too. I think it's only fair if I'm going through the trouble of meeting your mother.
Let's just worry about getting through meeting my mom, and then we can figure out when I can meet your parents. Speaking of, you're still kind of secretive about who they are and what they do. Are you gonna eventually let me know that?
It's not that I want to be, it's just that my dad is kind of a high-ranking individual in the medical field, and I don't want to let many people know about him. I don't want anyone to think I got to where I am because he helped me or just gave me a position at a hospital. I've worked so hard to get to where I am now.
But I would never think that.
I know, but it's just the way I would prefer things to be. I've already gotten crap from people in the past about it, despite them saying they wouldn't judge me. I'm sorry. Just please give me a little more time. I know it's a bit hypocritical considering I'm worried your mom doesn't know anything about me before meeting.
Alright, I'll trust your judgment. I just want to get all of this over with so that we can move on to the next step of getting married.
Agreed. Anyway, get home safe and I'll see you at the house later.
Right, I'll let you know when I'm coming back.
It's so nice to finally meet you. I'm Katie, George's fiancée. I've been waiting so long to meet you.
Hello there. Thank you for taking the time to meet me tonight. Let's sit down and we can have a proper introduction.
Sure. Well, where should I start? I'm 31 years old and I'm a nurse in the hospital where George works. That's actually where we met. It was where I did my residency. Back then, George was the new hotshot doctor that everyone wanted to be friends with. He was so handsome and cool, which is why I was shocked he asked me out. We've been dating ever since then, and not too long ago he asked me to marry him, which I of course said yes to.
I see. Go on.
Oh, okay. Well, George told me that you preferred not to meet until we had plans to get married, which we do. So now I wanted to start our relationship and get to know each other better.
That's nice. Let me go back to the point that you made earlier. So you're a nurse. Why are you a nurse?
Ever since I was young, I really liked helping people. Anytime my siblings got sick, I was always by their side taking care of them.
That's not what I meant. Let me rephrase my question. Why are you just a nurse?
I'm sorry, I don't really get what you're asking me.
Mom, could you be a little less harsh? You're coming off a bit too strong.
No, let me ask my question. To me, a nurse is just someone who gave up on being a doctor. Most of the time because they tried but weren't smart enough. It's basically like Plan B. That's why I'm asking you why you're a nurse and not a doctor.
That actually doesn't have anything to do with why I'm a nurse and not a doctor. I always wanted to be a nurse from the beginning.
So, you weren't ambitious enough to try and become a doctor?
Mom, enough. You know you're being out of line.
Fine, let's change the subject. What do your parents do for work?
Both my parents are in the medical field as well. My mom is actually a nurse, which is another reason why I wanted to be one in the first place.
And your father? What does he do?
Well, without giving too many details away, he's a high-ranking official in the medical industry. He prefers to keep his status and position private.
Just to be clear, you didn't get a free pass into George's hospital because your father knew someone, right? It sounds to me if he's as high up as you say, he then would have that power.
No, not at all. I worked hard to get where I am, and I didn't receive any kind of favoritism like that from him.
I'll take your word for it then.
Why don't we just move on and talk about something else? Katie and I already started looking at wedding venues. We're tentatively planning to have our wedding for next fall. So far, we've looked at Rouge Banquet Hall and Westbrook Estates. Both are extremely high-end and beautiful locations.
Oh, you should have it at Westbrook. I went to a wedding there lately, and it was a beautiful location. It was the wedding of two elite attorneys, and they spared no expense for the event. I'm assuming that you two, given your salaries, will be doing the same.
Well, we're trying to plan everything out now. We're certainly trying to get the best value for our money.
Value. Value is something only poor people care about. If you're serious about marrying my son, you need to contribute your fair share to the wedding.
I am planning on doing that.
I don't think you grasp the reality of what marrying my son really means. He's a doctor. He's going to provide you with an incredibly high-class life from now on. His salary is very high, and it'll only get higher as time goes on. Think of your monetary contribution to the wedding as an investment. You put in the money now to ensure you have an easy life moving forward.
I'm well aware and very thankful for the life that George is going to provide me. But it's not like I'm jobless. I'm working just as much and have a very respectable salary.
I'm sure you do. Which is why I'm asking you to contribute $150,000 to this wedding.
$150,000? Don't you think that's way too much money for a wedding?
Not at all. Weddings happen only once in a lifetime, and you need to make it as memorable as possible. That means forking out the cash to have a beautiful ceremony. You said it yourself. Your salary is good. Plus, both your parents are in the medical field. I know you have the money for it.
Having the money and being willing to spend that much money on a wedding are two different things. We weren't thinking of spending nearly that much money, let alone that being just my contribution to the wedding. $150,000 is a lot of money that we could potentially use for our future. I understand that a wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event, but I think that money could be put towards something better.
I don't think you understand. You're about to marry a doctor. From now on, you won't need to worry about money at all. 20 years from now, don't you think you'll regret it if you didn't make your wedding as good as it could be? That means putting down the money needed to have an extravagant event. I won't hear anything otherwise.
Mom, we can't just say yes or no right now. We have to talk about it. But now we understand your expectations. Like Katie said, this is a big decision, and that is a lot of money that we could be putting into somewhere for our future.
A wedding is for your future. It sets the tone for the rest of your lives together. If you want to cut corners and have a cheap wedding, it's not going to set your married lives off to a good start.
No one said we were going to cut corners. It's not like we want to have the cheapest wedding possible. We will plan for the best wedding we can, but at this moment, I just think putting $150,000 from my side alone is just too much.
Then why not ask your parents to do it all? Isn't it the custom anyway for the bride's parents to pay for the wedding?
I think that was the custom a long time ago, but I don't think it is anymore. Everyone I know who's gotten married has split the cost down the middle. That's not to say my parents won't be contributing. Either they'll be putting money directly into the wedding, or they'll give us a very generous gift. Also, if you don't mind me asking, are you implying that you'll be matching whatever I decide to put in?
Are you directly asking me how much I'll be giving you for your wedding? Don't you think that's a bit rude?
Well, I don't think it's any different than you deciding how much I need to contribute.
I haven't decided yet. I've only just met you. I haven't thought about what we'll be giving you for the wedding.
Mom, I think we need to have a talk with one another before we discuss anything else regarding the wedding. If I had known that you wanted to ask about wedding contributions, I would have talked with you beforehand about it. Same goes for you, Katie. Now that I think about it, we should think about having the best wedding possible. Like my mom said, with me being a doctor, we'll pretty much never need to worry about money ever again.
George, do you really want to spend that much on the wedding? We could be using that money to move into a brand new house.
What's the rush on doing that? We already live together and we don't need to run out and buy a new house right away.
Exactly. Life is all about timing. You can plan to use a lot of money for the wedding, and then when the time is right, you can move on to a bigger purchase like a house.
You too, George? I think we need to have a longer discussion about what we need to do here.
Yes, you two can do that. In the meantime, let's eat. I'm starving.
Is this normal? Did all your friends do this when they got married? I didn't know that you'd be expecting my parents to give us so much money. I didn't think it was needed.
None of my friends have got married yet. I'm the first one to do so. I don't know what their arrangement is. Doctors often get married late in life because we have to go through a lot of training before we get a job. I'm just happy that it's finally happening for me.
I'm happy too. I was just shocked by the amount of money that your mom wants. Don't you think it's too much? I really wasn't expecting that. When my friends got married, I don't think they went through this kind of thing.
I don't think there's any reason to compare us to your friends. We're different. You're marrying a doctor. It's not the same as those other people. I earn a lot of money, so I have high standards. You should have thought about this before you agreed to marry me. Don't you think I'm right about this? I don't think I'm being unfair.
I thought we were going to buy our own things. I thought you and I would buy a house together. I didn't think we'd be asking for so much from my parents. I'm going to work for this too. I'm not going to be staying at home doing nothing.
I think you need to be a bit more realistic. You're marrying me, and my family is quite well off. They want me to have the best things in life. I'm sorry I didn't mention this to you earlier. I thought it was going to be obvious. I think it's quite normal for parents to spend money on their children.
I don't think it was obvious at all.
My mom will be really upset if you don't get some money together. I think you should ask your parents as soon as you can. It might take them a while to get used to the idea. I wouldn't want to hurt my mom's feelings. She's already disappointed that I'm marrying a nurse.
There's nothing wrong with marrying a nurse.
It's not bad, but it's not amazing either. My mom wants the highest standards for everything. She really doesn't want second best. She always told me that I had to be a doctor and there was no second choice. If you're gonna marry me, then you need to get used to my family's standards. They might be a bit above what you're used to, but I know that you can adapt to it. You have to think about all the things that we need to buy. A nice wedding, a honeymoon, a house, a car. The list goes on and on. I don't want to wait to buy them. We need them already as soon as we get married.
I don't think that a wedding should involve handing over this much money. I know that my parents are going to agree with me about this.
You haven't even asked them yet. Go and ask them and see what they say about it. They might agree. I think it's something that older people might understand. I might need some money in the future to open my own private clinic. I have that as one of my ambitions.
Why should my parents help to pay for that? That's your responsibility. I will go and ask them. If you really insist on me doing this, then I'll do it.
Good, I'm happy to hear that. I really think they should help us out in some way. I don't think that our demands are too high.
Mom, Dad, I have something to talk to you about.
What is it? We're here to listen to you whenever you have something to say. How was your meeting with George's mother?
It was only our first meeting, so we didn't really talk about much. We were just getting to know each other. We did get onto the topic of helping to pay for the wedding and the house after we marry.
Oh, they wanted to talk about that already? I thought you might talk about that at a later date. It's all very serious. What did they say about all that stuff? Is there anything we can help you with? Do you want us to do anything?
His mom suggested that you should help us out financially. She said that $150,000 would be a nice amount.
$150,000? Really? All that? What do they want that for?
They said that it was needed to help us. They want an expensive wedding because it's like a sign of how things to come in our lives together. We can't start off cutting corners or our marriage will be doomed. They said they aren't the kind of people who settle for second best.
I've never heard of anyone spending that much money on their children. I thought he was a doctor. Doesn't he have his own money?
I was a bit surprised by it too. I thought it was too much money and I told them that. They told me that it wasn't too much and it's what parents should do for their children. I think they really want too much, but I don't think they're going to take no for an answer. I didn't tell them the truth about you, Dad. I didn't tell them about your job. But what if they want to come over here? They'll find out.
We can deal with that at a later date. Eventually they're gonna find out about me. If you want to marry that boy, then I'll support you through it. But I don't really know why they want all this money. You and him are both over 30. You should be able to pay your own way in life. I can help you out a bit, but this is really too much.
That's what I thought too. I'm sorry about all this, Dad. His mom was even talking about how she didn't want him to marry me. She said that she wanted her son to marry someone of a higher social status. She said that a nurse wasn't good enough.
Wow, what's got into her? How can she say such things about a nurse? What a terrible woman. Wait until she finds out that I'm a director of a hospital. She's gonna have a big shock.
I wanted to tell her that, but I didn't. I didn't want to boast about it. I was hoping to come to some kind of compromise with her, but no such luck. I wonder what she'd think if she knew. I really don't like that kind of person. I don't think you should judge people like that.
I agree with you on that. She really sounds like a nasty old woman. I don't think I like her. She really has a bad attitude towards people. I think it's really outrageous to ask for all that money from us. I don't see why we should be expected to pay all that money. If she wants to give her son a lot of money, then that's up to her, but she shouldn't expect others to go along with it. She needs to be a bit more realistic. Do you really want to marry him? Do you think you could get along with his mother?
I've been thinking about this too. I'm a bit worried about it. She doesn't seem like a very nice person, and I don't know what it's going to be like having to deal with her. I've been with George for over 3 years now, and we've been really happy together. I don't want to end it now over this. That would be a real shame.
It might be that you're finally finding out what these people are like. Now that you're getting married, the real person is coming through. It's never too late to change your mind if you want to. Keep that in mind. You just need to take things one day at a time and don't feel pressured to do anything.
Okay, Dad, I'll do that. Hey, do you have a second? I wanted to talk to you about the wedding.
Yeah, I can talk right now. Did you look at more venues? I'm not totally sold yet on the ones we looked at.
No, I haven't looked at any of the new ones. I wanted to talk again about how much this wedding is going to cost us. You know me, if something is on my mind, I go crazy thinking about it. And the conversation we had with your mom has been on my mind nonstop.
What more is there to talk about? I think it's fair that we split the cost of the wedding. I'm pretty sure that you said that's what all of your friends did at their wedding, so I don't see an issue with it.
The issue isn't with splitting the cost, it's with the cost itself. I'm sorry, George, but spending nearly $300,000 between the both of us on a wedding is just too much. I know what your mom is trying to say. I'm fully aware what it means to be marrying you, and I'm really grateful you'll be able to provide for me. It's more just the principle of it. Think of all the things we could do with that kind of money. We could retire years earlier if we keep that money in the bank instead of spend it.
You're already thinking about retirement? I think you should focus more on the present instead of what's going to happen 30 years from now. I don't think you grasp how much money we're going to make with our salaries combined. $150K is basically pocket change in the grand scheme of things. Plus, we can't take all that money with us when we die, can we? What's the use of saving and saving if we're never going to use it? Are you planning to be buried with the money we have in the bank?
Yeah, but that's money we can leave for our kids once we get older. My point is that I want you to think of the bigger picture rather than what your mom's telling you to do.
I'm not just blindly listening to what my mom is saying. This is what I want too. I want a big, super elegant wedding. I hate to say it, but a wedding is a way to show off your status in society. Katie, we're the upper echelon. It would be a waste to not be a little over the top to show that we're capable of affording a wedding like that.
It feels like I'm not really getting through to you. Do we really need to do that? I'm not saying we'd be wasting that much money, but it could certainly be put to better use.
I'm gonna put my foot down here because this conversation is obviously not going anywhere. I'm gonna put as much money as I want to into this wedding. If you want to be a Scrooge and not contribute, that's fine. But I have a good memory, and it hurt our future together.
George, come on. I just want you to see things my way.
I have no interest. I've gotten to where I am today because I did things my way, and I don't plan on changing that. I have to go now. I don't really want to have the same conversation over and over again.
Fine.
I heard a rumor. Did you hear it too? I heard that the hospital director's daughter works in this hospital. We better be nice to people. You never know who it is.
Really? I didn't even know he had a daughter.
I know how much you love the director. He's your role model.
That's right. I'd love to meet his daughter. I think we'd get along really well. Imagine how much money that girl must have. She must be really rich. I'm sure she's gonna have a bright future.
Do you think she's single?
I don't know. Maybe you could try and find her and ask her out on a date. Who knows what might happen? I wonder what job she does here. Do you think she's a doctor? It would be great if we could find out who she was.
I heard that she's a nurse.
Oh, I don't think so. If it's the director's daughter, then it must be a doctor. Either that or a member of management. I don't think that she'd be a nurse.
I don't think that she has to be a doctor. I don't think that she needs the money. She comes from a rich family. She doesn't have to get a high-paying job. Oh, I'm jealous. I wish my life was like that. It was so hard for me to become a doctor. I had to study so hard, and it took such a long time. I really wish I came from a rich family. My life would have been so much easier.
It would have been the same if you did another job. It's hard no matter what you do. The difference here is that you have a really good future ahead of you too. Doctors can earn a lot of money. I'm gonna be getting married soon, so I have to spend money on that.
Is it gonna be expensive?
Yeah, it is. But it's okay. My family and Katie's family are gonna give some money to help us out. I think her family is gonna give us $150,000 to help with the cost of the marriage.
$150,000? Really? That much? That's a lot of money. Do you really need all of that? What are you gonna do with it?
It's gonna be used towards the wedding and maybe a new house, things like that. I don't think it's a lot of money if you think about the long term. If she marries me, then she's gonna have a really great future. I think it's only right that her parents pay some money to me now. I'm really gonna be contributing a lot to our marriage in the future, so I think they need to contribute more now.
Isn't Katie a nurse? She already has a good future without you. She might even get promoted to head nurse, and then she'll make a lot of money. Maybe even more than you. Don't you think you're getting a little bit ahead of yourself? Do you really think that you're that important?
How is she gonna earn as much as me? There is no chance of that. I'm always going to be one step ahead of her. I think it's the right thing for me and my family to do. I'm really gonna earn a lot of money one day. We need some money from them now. I don't want to feel like I made all the money in our house and she did nothing. Also, my mom wants the best for me, and I don't want to let her down. My mom was unhappy when she found out that I was marrying a nurse, and this is one way to make her feel better.
If you really look down on her that much, then why are you gonna marry her? I really don't think that a doctor is that special. I think you need to be a bit more modest. What are you gonna do if they say no?
I don't think they're gonna refuse. Who would refuse me? They know their daughter is marrying into a good family, so how could they say no? I think you should go and find a girlfriend too. It's really easy for guys like us.
I don't think I'm going to go around showing off to people like you do.
I don't think there's any problem in doing that. If you've got a good job, then you might as well tell people about it.
I'll have to see what I can do. I'm trying to find a girlfriend, but it isn't easy. I wonder where the director's daughter is. I wonder if she's single. I don't know if she'd be interested in me. She might have higher standards than me.
I hope you find someone one day. Look at me and Katie. We're really happy together. You need to find someone so you're not alone.
Thanks for your encouragement. I think you're really lucky to have her. Especially considering how much money you're asking from her. I know a lot of girls would have just walked away if their future husband asked for all that money. I really wonder what her family said when they heard that. I think it's a crazy amount of money, but I'm not you.
When you get married, you can do the same. You don't want to have to pay for everything yourself. It's only fair that women pay too.
How are you with your wedding? Are you ready? Have you got everything prepared?
We're still at the starting phase. We're not going to be ready for quite some time yet. How did you know about the marriage? I didn't tell anyone about it yet.
I heard from one of my colleagues. I know all about it.
Oh, really? How was your wedding when you got married? Was it expensive?
It was a little bit expensive, but not that bad. I had just enough money for a nice wedding, and then we moved into a house after that. I was actually the same way George was at first. I really wanted to have this dream wedding and be treated like a princess. But after giving it a second thought, I realized it would be much better to take that money and invest it into our future. Honestly, it's just about who you invite and how the whole thing is planned. You're not going to impress anybody, and it's not like anyone thinks you don't have money or something. Plus, it's not like you're going to be eating off paper plates or something. I'm sure it's still going to be an absolutely beautiful wedding.
Thank you for saying that, and you're exactly right. I don't want to have the cheapest wedding possible. I just think that kind of money is just too crazy to spend on a wedding. I think my wedding is going to be really expensive for me. I didn't know it was going to cost this much. I really wish life didn't have to be this way. I wish things could be a lot more simple.
How much is it going to cost you?
George wants my parents to pay $150,000 for the wedding, the house, the car, and that kind of thing. I think it's a bit too much, but he insists that it's a suitable amount. Where am I going to get that kind of money from? I asked my parents, and they were a bit shocked by the amount of money. They were not expecting it to be so high. I'm really not feeling good about the whole situation.
You can afford that. Your dad's really rich.
Don't say that. I don't want people to know about that.
Your dad runs this hospital. Of course you can afford $150,000.
Be quiet, please. People might hear and I don't want them to know. They might start asking questions if they know about the relationship between me and the director. They might wonder how I got this job.
Sorry, I'll be quiet. I know you don't want people to know. I really don't think you're going to struggle with that amount of money. Why not just put that forward to help with married life? It is a lot of money, but you can never have too much.
I haven't told George that my dad is the director. I don't want to tell anyone. I didn't want people to think that I was getting places in life because of connections to my dad. George doesn't know that we can easily afford that amount of money. That's not the point. I don't want to spend that much. I think George and I should build our own lives. We shouldn't be dependent on our parents. I think George thinks too highly of himself. He thinks he deserves so much because he's a doctor and his family is rich. I really wish he would come back down to earth. He's such a nice guy when he does that.
I agree with you. In the past, doctor was a really good job, but these days a lot of people earn more money. It seems like he's being a bit too arrogant for his own good.
You're right, and it's really disappointing for me.
When are you going to tell him the truth? You're going to get married now, so you probably need to let him know.
I don't think I'm ready to tell him just yet. I still like him, even though he's being like this. I hope we can find some kind of a solution to this. I think if I'm patient, then he might just change his mind.
When are your parents going to meet his parents?
2 weeks from now.
If you tell them that your dad is the director of the hospital, then surely that's going to change the situation between you two.
It might do. I'll have to wait and see. I've been with him for a long time and I never told him the truth. I wonder what he's going to think when he finds out.
You just do what you gotta do. Marriage is really important to take it slow and make the right decision.
Thanks for your advice.
Hello, Katie. It's me, Harriet.
Oh, hi. Nice to hear from you.
I hope you're not too surprised that I decided to reach out to you like this. I know that we're going to be getting more and more familiar from now on, so I think I should be able to call you. I got your phone number from George as I really wanted to talk to you. I hope you don't mind me calling you like this. You aren't busy, are you? If you are, then I can call you back another time, but it would be really nice to talk to you now.
It's fine. You can call me whenever you want. I'll save this number so I know it's you in future. I'm about to finish work now.
I suppose you really have to work a lot as a nurse. You must have to work at night, too. It must be really hard for you. George doesn't have to do all that. He always has good hours.
Yeah, he does have a good job. He does get a few perks that I don't get.
You should really appreciate that he's marrying you. You've got a really nice future husband. I really hope you treat him well after you get married. I'll send you my address now and you can come and visit me.
Sorry, you want me to come and see you?
If you come over, then I can teach you how to cook and clean. I can show you how to make the kind of food that George likes. I don't want him to go hungry once he's married to you. He's a very fussy eater.
I don't think I'll have time to do that now. I might not have time to do it ever. I don't think I'll be doing that much cooking once I'm married. I have a job myself. Also, there's a canteen here at the hospital that George and I can use. I don't think he needs to rely on me to make food for him.
I hope you're not going to refuse me here. That's not very respectful. I don't want him to eat that food from the canteen. I want him to eat something more nutritious, and I want you to prepare it. You're going to be his wife, and things have to change. You can't go on as you did in the past. I didn't even want him to get married to you in the first place. You're lucky I'm accepting you into our family. But it would come with some conditions, and this is one of them. You need to up your game and do better. I want my son to have the best wife in the world.
I think I'm going to be a good wife. I think George and I can handle it.
I really think you need to do what I say. If I tell you to come here, then you need to come. I'm not going to take no for an answer. You wouldn't want the wedding plans to fall apart at the last moment, would you? I strongly suggest that you get over here as soon as you can.
Do you really need to act like this? Are you there? Did you put the phone down? I really don't know what's got into you. How can you be like this? I could never imagine that someone would this... I don't know what to do. I don't want to make you angry, but I think you're being unreasonable. I don't even know if I want to go through with this. I've really been put off the whole idea of marriage by the way she's been with me. I really wish George would help me out here, but he seems to want to take her side. What did I do to deserve this treatment? I can't believe they think they can treat me like this because he's from a rich family. If only they knew the truth about my dad. I'm from a wealthy family too, but I don't treat people like this. I'm here. I gave it some thought and decided to come over as you said.
Hi there, nice to see you. What's this? You didn't bring anything. Why did you come here empty-handed?
I didn't have time to go and get anything. I didn't think you'd mind.
This is your first time coming to my house, and you really should have brought a present. Isn't that just the normal thing to do? That's what I do when I visit someone's house, especially if it's the first time. Never mind, come in here and see the things I bought.
What's all this? You've really got a lot of stuff here.
I want you to take this to him and his co-workers at the same time. They can all have something to eat. I think it's nice if we share things around. I like to be nice to people. Maybe it's not something you understand. I think you need to be nice to people at work. You need to make good connections with people. It's always good to have friends, but it's also true that they might be able to help you in the future. It might even be good for your career. How are you at cooking? Can you cook?
I can cook some simple things, but I'm not really a great chef. I'll try my best.
You're a nurse and you can't even cook. I thought you'd be really concerned with your own health. What kind of a nurse can't cook food? I am shocked.
You want me to take all this stuff to the hospital? Isn't it a bit too much? They will have already eaten their dinner. I don't think they'll want all this stuff.
If you work at night, then you need food to keep you going. Just take this stuff to them. They'll be happy to have it. How are you going to be a good wife when you can't even cook? You haven't done anything well since you got here. Nothing you put in front of me is anything close to what I would consider edible. Did your mother not teach you how to cook when you were growing up?
I didn't have time to learn how to cook because I was too busy with my studies. Now I work and I often eat 3 meals a day in the hospital.
Is that your excuse? I don't think it's a very good one. You're not a lawyer or even a doctor. You didn't have to study that hard. You're just a nurse. It can't be that hard to become a nurse.
Can you stop being so rude to me, please? It takes a lot of hard work to become a nurse. I really did study hard. I really worked hard to become a nurse and I'm proud of that. I don't think you should be so snobbish to people all the time.
I can tell you come from an ordinary background. I suppose you think it's a really big achievement, don't you? I don't think so. I think it's just normal. Nothing to be proud of. If you really wanted to help people, then you should have become a doctor. If a patient is sick, then a doctor is better than a nurse. If you'd studied harder, then you could have been a doctor. That's something to be proud of. I wouldn't allow my son to settle for such a job. I always wanted him to be a doctor. Nurse wasn't enough. My son is so clever and hardworking. He could do anything if he really wanted to.
I understand that you're really proud of your son and I can accept this. He is a nice guy and he's doing a lot of good work in the hospital. I just wish you would be a bit nicer to me and not compare me to him all the time. We can't just have a hospital full of doctors. Nurses are a vital member of the team too. My parents really care about me and they'd be really angry if they heard you talking about me like this. I'm a nurse, not a doctor, and that's not because I didn't study hard enough. I really wish you could understand this, but no matter what I say, you just don't get it. I really can't accept you talking about me like this. If you want to have this as your opinion, then please do. But don't mention it to me anymore. I don't want to hear it again. I'm going to leave now. I don't want to be here tonight. I'll talk to you another day.
You've still got things to do. You can't leave now. Are you expecting me to do all of this? Do you think I want my son to marry a girl who just gives up like this? She doesn't have any desire to go through difficult things. You can't just walk away as soon as someone disagrees with you.
I am not getting married to you. I'm getting married to George. I don't want to have to deal with you and your opinions. I'm going now. Talk to you again another time.
You're just going to leave like this. Don't you want to marry my son?
That's a decision for me and him to make. You don't need to concern yourself with it.
I really don't like people like you. You're really not my type.
Were you just at my mom's house?
I was, yes, and now I'm going home. Thankfully, I was able to make it out of there in one piece.
Do you have no manners at all? Why did you talk to her like that?
What do you mean by that? She was rude to me. What kind of attitude is this to have? Don't you understand me at all?
She wanted you to come over to help her cook, and then you had a fight with her? Did you have to? It was your first time at her house. You should have been nicer to her. She wanted to teach you how to cook the foods that I like. She was doing this because after we get married, you'll have to do some of the cooking. This was her way of welcoming you into our family, and you really didn't appreciate it. Can't you see how much my mom cares about you? Can't you see how much she cares about us? She is really angry at the whole thing now. You really made her feel sad. I'd be happy if you said sorry to her as soon as you can, and please don't do it again. You need to talk nicely to the older folks. You need to accept their opinions.
I didn't do anything wrong. You weren't there. You didn't hear what she said about me. Do you think that after we get married, I'm just going to cook food for you all day? Are you crazy? I'm not going to be your servant.
I think you'll be cooking. That's just what you need to do.
I will be working as a nurse. I'm not just there to look after you.
I'm a doctor. I'll be making more money than you.
You're nearly as bad as your mom.
We agree on many things. I'm going to be earning more money than you, so it's only right that you do more of the housework. That includes cooking food for me.
If I had known that this is what you thought, then I wouldn't have agreed to marry you in the first place.
You don't want to marry me anymore? Are you having second thoughts?
Of course I am. I don't think we are suitable for each other. I don't want to marry you. There's no need for my parents to meet your parents. The wedding is off. I'm through with you.
You really don't want to be with me? You're going to call it off just like that? Why would you do such a thing? How can you change your mind so suddenly?
I can do whatever I want to do. I'm not tied to you. Ever since we agreed to get married, you've become a different person and I don't like it. I don't want you anymore. You can go and find a girl on your level. Someone who can live up to your standards. I don't want to be part of this anymore.
Why would you want to leave me? What's gotten into you?
Just leave me alone. This wedding is off and I don't want to speak with you anymore. I've gotten a good look into what my future would be like. I want to end things now before I ruin my life. Hey, I hope I'm not bothering you right now. Are you still awake? I want to talk to you about something.
Yes, we're both up, but why are you still awake? Was there some kind of emergency at the hospital? What took you so long today? Why are you so late in coming home? Did they make you work until this late?
What happened at the hospital? Is there something you need to tell us about? You don't look good either. Are you stressed or something like that? If you're unhappy, then you can tell us. We'll do everything we can to try and make it better. You can always depend on us when times are bad. We're always there for you.
I was going to tell you about this all tomorrow. I didn't want to talk about it now, but seeing as though you're here, we might as well get it out. Something a little bit bad has happened. You might be shocked by it. I'm not going to get married anymore. It's all been called off. I don't want to marry him.
You canceled the wedding? We haven't even met his parents yet and the wedding is off? What happened? What went wrong?
Please tell us everything. I thought things were going so well between you and George.
I had a big argument with him and his mom, and it made me see the light. She invited me over to her house because she wanted me to do some cooking. She wanted me to make some food and take it to George because he was on night duty.
She wanted you to cook for him. Why should you have to do that? She wanted you to do that even though you'd only just finished work?
That's right. I had to go there straight from work. I was really tired and I didn't want to do that. I went because I didn't want to cause any trouble with her. She was talking about how great her son is and how I'd have to serve on him after we got married. She wanted to teach me how to be a good wife. It was really embarrassing. Then she started talking about how I was a nurse because I didn't study hard enough and couldn't be a doctor. She was really rude and mean to me. I told her I didn't want to hear it anymore and walked out. She's mad about it all. She thinks I don't respect her. But why should I listen to her talk bad about me? She's really too proud of her son and I can't stand it. He isn't that special. I just don't think I can go on with the two of them acting the way they are. It's going to be unbearable. I've decided that I don't want to go through with it. The marriage is canceled. He's not the person I fell in love with. I only wish he could go back to being the person he used to be.
How could they be disrespectful to you because you're a nurse? Does he really think that he's that good? He's only a doctor. I'm really not happy about how all of this has played out. I don't like people treating my daughter badly.
Try not to get too angry about it. Katie's made up her mind now and she's going to go on her own way. We just need to back her up.
It still makes me angry. I don't think I can be quiet over this. Tell me where she lives.
Why do you want to know that? What are you going to do?
I'm gonna go over there and tell her what I think. I'm gonna teach her a lesson. I cannot tolerate people treating my daughter like this, and I must do something about it.
She's broken up with him now. There's nothing more to talk about. Just let it go. All that you're going to do is make things even worse. You're just going to cause more trouble.
I am not gonna just sit here while someone insults my daughter like this.
Dad, just calm down, please. You don't have to get so angry. If we go there now, then he won't be there. He's still on night duty in the hospital. You'll have to talk to him about it another time. Maybe you can try to calm down first.
We also need to think about the hospital. We don't want a big drama. It might lead to problems for us.
I'm not worried about problems. Katie is more important than that. I really can't let them get away with this. There must be some kind of punishment.
But you can't let it get in the way of the hospital. George is working well at the hospital and so am I. We don't want any problems.
We need to try and come to a sensible solution here. At least have some time to think about it.
What's happened? Are you okay? I thought you were on holiday. Something important has come up that needs my attention. Some things have happened, so I need to come back and deal with them. It's to do with my daughter, but you don't need to think about that. I can't just let things rest when there are things to deal with. I need to tackle them head on. Do you know a person called George? I think he works in your department. I know him. He's a doctor on my team. I taught him myself. He's a hardworking guy. Do you need to talk to him? What's the problem? I can get him if you want me to. Tell me everything you know about him. Is he doing what he needs to do? Is he progressing as a doctor? What kind of a future do you think he's gonna have at this hospital? Do you think he's a good investment for me? Oh, it's difficult for me to give a precise answer here. I've known him for a long time. I've been involved in his training ever since he joined us. I hope that he's going to be a great doctor. I really think he's got the capability. I just hope he lives up to the expectations. Sometimes he makes mistakes, but we all do that from time to time. I don't want to be too hard on him. He's still a junior and he has a lot to learn. I've noticed that sometimes he can be a bit rude to patients, but it's not serious. We all need to work on ourselves, him included. Sometimes I worry that he might make a big mistake, but it hasn't happened yet. What are you trying to tell me here? I'm really not sure about this guy. I really need to pay extra close attention to him. Why? What makes you so concerned? He was engaged to my daughter, but it's been called off. He was really rude to her, and he seems to be a bit of a nasty person. I want to check him out for myself. I really don't want people like that working at this hospital. I want good people here. I just want to make sure that he was doing his job right. I'd love to have a reason to fire him. I don't think you should let your private situation interfere with the hospital. I think he's doing okay, but I don't think there's any reason to fire him. I know that your daughter and him might not get on very well, but he really hasn't been that bad. I'll pay close attention to him and make sure he doesn't do anything wrong.
If his bad personality starts to come out in his work, then I'll let you know about it as soon as it happens. Until then, I'll just try to keep up with his development. I still think he could be a good doctor.
Okay, I think you're right about this one. Thanks for telling me about all of this. I often find it difficult to talk about my feelings, so thank you for listening to me.
Oh, don't worry about it. It must be hard being in your position. You have to think about your family and this hospital. If you want to talk about it more often in the future, then we can do so. George, do you know why I called you in here? Because you're gonna give me a raise? I've been killing it lately, and that's the only thing that I can possibly think of. Unfortunately, that is way off from why I wanted to talk to you. I'll get right to the chase. You had a very critical error that almost cost a patient his life. Me? Yeah, I don't think I did anything like that. Are you sure you have the story straight? I am absolutely sure. Do you remember a patient that came in named Harold Keeley? Of course I do. He fell off his ladder when he was cleaning out his gutters and hit his head. He came into the ER because he thought he had a concussion. Go on, tell me more about his visit. If I'm being honest, I think he was just being a hypochondriac. He kept changing his story about how high he fell from. First it was 10 feet, then it was 20. We ran the concussion tests on him and he was totally fine. Go ahead and read the report yourself. He cleared everything. He didn't have a concussion or even bumps or bruises. The issue isn't with him having a concussion. Finish the story. Walk me through the rest of his time at the hospital. Well, he was being pretty annoying and complaining about how much pain he was in. I thought he was just trying to get a prescription for strong pain meds from us. Instead, I just gave him 2 ibuprofen and discharged him. That's the problem right there. Did you even bother to look at his chart? I didn't need to. I diagnosed him properly. He came in complaining of a concussion, and I determined that he didn't have one.
That's not the problem. The problem is with you giving him ibuprofen. He's taking warfarin, George. If he would have mixed them both, he could have had severe bleeding.
Well, no one told me that. How was I supposed to know? If you're telling me this, I'm guessing he isn't dead. What's the big deal?
The big deal is that you weren't paying enough attention to the patient to realize that what you were giving him was a potential risk to his health. I have to let you know that I'll be reporting this to the hospital director. We can't have this happening again, George. You really need to stay focused. Usually you're better than this. What happened?
Honestly, I just didn't think anything of it. I'll try and be more careful.
I hate to ask this, but I smell alcohol on you right now. Oh, please tell me that it's my imagination.
I went out last night and I'm a little hungover. I guess it's coming through my pores or something. So what? I'm a grown adult. As far as I know, it's not prohibition anymore, and I can have a drink if I want to. Are you gonna say that I can't?
What I'm saying is that making a mistake is one thing, but making a mistake because you are still under the influence of alcohol is an extremely severe offense that could lead to you losing your medical license altogether. I heard a rumor that you and Katie broke off your engagement. Is that what's causing this behavior?
I guess you could say that. I'm finally back to being free for the first time in a long time, and I can do whatever I want. I mean, do you blame me? I'm a young, hot doctor. I'm basically the more desired kind of man on the planet.
Jesus, George, get yourself together. You have a responsibility to look after your patients. That's the reason you're a doctor, not so you can party and have women gawk at you. This is your formal warning. You need to get your act together. I will be following you very closely to make sure you do.
Fine. Understood. I guess I'll be more careful. Barry, I need you to come down here. It's really important. There are some detectives here, and they want to talk to you.
Detectives? As in the police?
Yeah, they wouldn't say why. They just wanted to talk to you.
I'm on my way down now. Hello, thank you for agreeing to speak with us. There are a few things that I'd like to confirm first. Is there a doctor named George Fraser who works in the hospital? Yes, there is. But before we go any further, I'd like to know why you're here and what do you want to know more about? I want to know right away if I'm under any obligation to talk to you as well. No, you're well within your right not to answer our questions if you feel the need. However, your cooperation will be greatly appreciated, especially if we can solve this case quickly. I'm sure you're aware that there is a severe opioid epidemic at the moment. We're putting our utmost efforts into trying to limit the amount of deaths and stop the supply of opioids from getting into the wrong hands. Lately, there has been a trend of doctors over-prescribing controlled pain medications, which is leading to addiction. I'm well aware of this, and we instruct all of our doctors to only prescribe those controlled substances when extremely necessary. I see. Well, that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you today. You mentioned that George Fraser works at this hospital. Could you tell me more about him? He was up until recently one of our most talented and trusted doctors. In fact, he was engaged to my daughter, but they ended up breaking off the engagement. He had one disciplinary incident recently, but it was taken care of, and there hasn't been any issue since then. I'm gonna make an assumption here based on everything that you've said so far. I'd wager to say that you're looking into George prescribing pain medication to patients. Am I correct? We are looking into the possibility of it, yes. We are just gathering information at this point. But to be frank, we have a strong inclination to believe that he's been involved with the local drug dealer. Are you serious? Please tell me more. I'm willing to cooperate as much as I can, and in return, I'd like the reputation of my hospital to be protected. I can't make any promises because we can't predict what the media will get their hands on. But if you aid us in the investigation, we will do our best to keep a lid on this so your hospital won't get any bad press. We recently took a local known drug dealer into custody after a successful sting. He and his lawyer made a plea deal that he'd confess and cooperate with the police to tell more about the supply chain of the drugs he was selling. One of the drugs he was selling was oxycodone, which I'm sure you're aware of is one of the most common drugs to overdose on due to its potency. I'm very well aware of that. What is the connection between the drug dealer and George? Well, the drug dealer explained it would be too risky for him to go into the hospital himself and try and get a prescription. Instead, he had lower-level drug dealers who aren't known to go in and get prescriptions. This particular drug dealer is ruthless, and he would do things like purposely break their bones and have them get into accidents so that it wouldn't be out of the ordinary to get such strong pain medication. The key factor in all of this is that he and George made a deal. He would send these patients in, George would prescribe the pain pills, and then George would receive a cut of the money from the drug sales. I can't believe it. Usually we are very strict with how many prescriptions we write every month. I feel responsible for letting this go unnoticed. Don't blame yourself. He admitted that he knew it would raise red flags if there were too many prescriptions being written in a given time. He spaced the visits out enough where it wouldn't seem suspicious. Still, I'm supposed to be watching over this hospital. We would like to bring him in for questioning. There's a very high possibility that we'll be making an arrest. Before you do, I'd like to sit down and talk with him. I have a few things I need to say to him before he goes in. Usually we don't allow anything like that, but since you cooperated, we'll allow it just this once. Thank you. It won't be long, and you can stand right outside the door to make sure he doesn't try and run away. Understood. We'll be on standby.
Mr. Director, it's quite the honor to speak with you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to sit down with you and talk one-on-one.
Whatever you think this meeting is gonna be, I guarantee you it is not gonna be what you're expecting.
Look, I already spoke with Donald the other day about the mistake I made with the patient. I have been very careful since then, and I haven't made a mistake like that since. I've done some self-reflecting, and I realized that I was careless, and I promise it will never happen again.
That is not why I called you into my office to speak. Off the top of your head, can you think of any other reason why I would want to speak with you?
Honestly, I can't. If it's anything performance-related, I actually think it would be a positive conversation because I've been an upstanding doctor lately.
I see. So you can't think of anything I might want to talk with you about?
No, sir, nothing at all.
Fine, let's change directions then. I'm gonna ask you this question 2 times. Do you know who I am?
Of course I do. You're the director of this hospital. You're someone who I greatly respect and model myself after.
And as the director of the hospital, do you know what my responsibility is?
To look after operations and make sure everything runs smoothly and patients are taken care of.
That's right. But it's even more than that. I'm not only looking after the patients who are in the hospital, I need to look after the well-being of all citizens in this town and make sure they're healthy. I know everything, George. There's no need to keep playing dumb with me, and it's only gonna make your situation worse.
I'm sorry, sir. I really don't know what you're talking about.
Does the name Big Tony ring a bell? If not, let me refresh your memory. He was one of the most notorious drug dealers in the area and was responsible for selling extremely potent opioids to his customers, causing hundreds of deaths.
Well, I may have heard about him through the grapevine, but it's not like I know him personally.
That's funny, because he certainly knows you. He was recently arrested, and to save his own skin, confessed everything about how you were the one prescribing pain pills to him.
What? I would never. Go ahead and check my prescription records. I never prescribed anything to a known drug dealer.
No, but you did prescribe oxycodone to the people he sent to the hospital to get them. And don't worry, we already confirmed that you did prescribe them to everyone Big Tony said he sent over here. There's no use in lying. The 2 detectives that are standing outside the door told me everything. They'll be in here soon to bring you in to question you themselves.
I choose not to say anything else regarding this matter until I have an attorney present.
Well, at least you possess the trait of self-preservation. Can't blame you there. So, I want to ask you again. Do you know who I am? This time, the answer will be different than the first.
I have no idea what you want me to say.
I'm Katie's father.
You? You're Katie's father? Are you kidding me? Oh my God, now it makes sense. A high-ranking person in the medical field? Why did I never put the 2 and 2 together? I am so sorry for everything that happened between me and Katie.
Save it. I don't care about what you have to say about that. With the way things turned out, it wouldn't have mattered anyway since you're gonna be in jail very soon. If anything, I want to thank you for being so thoughtless in your treatment of her. It would have been a nightmare if you 2 had been married when all of this came to light.
Wait, I have an idea. I can formally apologize to Katie for the way things went down. I'm sure she went through a lot and caused your family a lot of trouble. If I apologize to her, why don't we work together and figure out a way to make this whole situation go away? This all happened right under your nose, you know? I don't think it would be a very good image for the hospital if a scandal like this broke out.
I am willing to take responsibility for this terrible accident. Don't you dare threaten me and try to act like you know the best interest of this hospital. I have to ask, why did you even want to get mixed up with a drug dealer in the first place? You earn more than enough money on your salary, and the risk just doesn't seem worth it. What was going through your head? You're gonna lose your medical license after all of this, but it didn't have to be this way. You had so much potential, and you've thrown it all away.
I don't know. I just liked the thrill of it, I guess. I thought all that kind of stuff was cool and wanted to be a part of it.
You wanted to be a part of the deaths of hundreds of innocent people? You make me sick. I'm letting you know right now that I'm gonna fully cooperate with the police to make sure you never see the light of day again. I hope it was all worth it. Hi, honey. I'm assuming you heard the news.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Why would George do something like that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I never thought he was that kind of person.
Well, I guess it goes to show you, you never really can know a person completely. Thank God you weren't married to him.
Yeah, I'm really lucky about that. What a terrible situation that would have been. So tell me more about what happened. All I heard was that he was taken down to the police station by 2 detectives for questioning.
There's not much more to it than that. Oh, I guess word hasn't gotten around about me talking to him before he got arrested, though. I told him that you were my daughter.
You did? I thought you wanted no one to know about that.
I just couldn't help it. I wanted him to know how badly he screwed up. I think the secret is still safe because he won't be talking to anyone anytime soon. Also, since I cooperated with the detectives, they agreed not to make the story public, which is a huge weight off my shoulders. The last thing we need is the media coming in and jamming up our operations. I'm just relieved we've taken a step towards improving the terrible opioid epidemic. Hopefully, this means we'll see less cases of overdoses in the hospital from now on.
I hope so. It was getting pretty bad for a while. I can't believe that scumbag George was part of the problem. I can't tell you how many close calls we had with people overdosing. The saddest thing was some of them were so young. Addiction is a very scary disease.
I've heard about how much you contributed to the patients who came in with drug overdoses. You had some 20-hour days, didn't you?
Honestly, I don't even remember. It's been so crazy I've lost count.
Well, we've noticed the work that you've put in and the difference you've made, and we think that you need to be recognized for your efforts. Which is why, starting next month, you're going to be promoted to head nurse. Oh, you've earned it, honey. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, really? Are you sure I'm fit for the role? But what if people think the only reason I got promoted was because you're my dad?
If they think that, tell them to come directly to me and address their issues. But given the contributions you've made both recently and since you've joined the hospital, I don't think anyone would disagree you're right for the role. You've been through a lot. You deserve this.
Thank you, Dad. I really can't thank you enough for everything you've done for me. I'm where I am because I had you to support me.
No need to thank me, honey. You were the one who put in all the hard work to get where you are. I'm proud to call you my daughter.
As expected, George was charged with selling illegal substances by abusing his power to write prescriptions. Recently, he went to trial, and I heard it was absolutely brutal for him. They had the families of some of the victims who died from his drugs come in and testify. I don't know the specifics, but I heard that George was a complete mess and was crying the whole time. It just doesn't make sense to me. He literally threw his life away just because he thought being a drug dealer was cool? Well, I hope he knows now that he was dead wrong. The other day, I actually got a call from Harriet. She begged me to do something to help her son, but I totally denied her. I've wiped my hands clean of him and I'm much better off because of it. I'm really loving my new role as a head nurse. Sure, it's challenging, but I like the new responsibility and still loving helping people on a daily basis. Luckily, my dad's secret is still safe, and no one accused him of promoting me just because I was his daughter. Moving forward, I want to focus on staying happy and healthy. I don't think I'll be dating any more doctors soon. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe to see more content.